Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Carrie Jane. It has been a while since I've made a video, so I'm very excited to be making one today. And what I want to do today is talk about my top 5 favorite Oracle decks. It has been also a while since I've made a video, anything deck related. And I also have a video of my top 5 favorite crystals. So this will be a good complement to that as well, and I hope you enjoy. I think it's going to be a pretty chill video. It's kind of hot and humid today, so I'm moving a little bit slower than usual, but it's still beautiful, as you can probably tell from the background. And also, I apologize for any background noise because there's lots of boats passing, so if you see me talking and then suddenly like there's a huge gap where I cut off, that's why. So let's get started. So the first deck that I want to show you is one that you probably know very well if you've been following my channel. I made an unboxing video of it, and it's a favorite of many who come to my channel. And it's the Untamed Truth Oracle cards. And yeah, this is definitely one of my favorites, and all the decks that I'm going to show you today are decks that are my favorite because, one, I use them the most often, either on a daily basis or a weekly basis, but also they just get to personal things that other decks can't for me. So yeah, using that criteria, the Untamed Truth Oracle cards is perfect for me. Even the title, like, you know, I didn't know what I was getting into when I bought the cards. I didn't know they were going to be such a great match for me, but they just were perfect. I identify with the title so much, and even though, like, flipping through these cards, like, it looks like they could be titled something else, like they could be, you know, just based on the kinds of cards that there are here and the words, and you know, a lot of these keywords and images are common in decks, so I could even see it titled as something different, but nonetheless that's what the title is, and that's kind of what I'm all about, is what I'm trying to get to. Sorry for that long explanation, but I like the Untamed Truth concept. I like I don't like angel cards usually because they tend to be a little bit too accommodating, I guess, is what I'm trying to get at. They're always very fluffy and positive, and like that's okay. Like sometimes we need that, but I'm a realist. Like I much rather have the truth than anything. So there you have it, the Untamed Truth. So, you know, you've probably already seen that video where I went through and I flipped through the cards, but if not, here's one of my favorites. Yeah, I'll go through a few of these so you can see, you know, what we have going on here. But yeah, I know I'm going to get a very accurate message every time I use these cards. It's really weird. Like every deck that I use, because of the law of attraction, has some truth that I know I can get from, but this is just unparalleled. Like this deck really, I feel like, understands me. It's hard to explain. It's the first deck that I have encountered where I feel like I'm seen, if that makes any sense. Like, you know, each deck that you come across will, like I said, give you something, because the artist and the writers came together and really put together something very useful and beautiful and meaningful. But I don't know, we get along. I vibe with this deck. The things that the circumstances that I find myself in my life are in this deck, the messages as well. And for some reason, like, always 3 come out at a time, and it tells a little story that is exactly what's going on in my life. That is a very common pattern with this deck and me. So, yeah, highly recommend this deck. A fly just bit me. Oh, great. So yeah, let's move on to the next one. So the next deck I'm going to show you is the Keepers of the Light Oracle deck, and this is a very popular deck amongst the community. So you probably have at least seen this already if you're not exactly 100% familiar with it. But yeah, Kyle Gray is like a celebrity. He's like this really cute Scottish guy. All the women go crazy for him, so he's doing really well. He's doing really well in his enterprise. But yeah, besides being really good looking, he really made some awesome stuff. And what I use this deck for, first of all, I use it almost every day. But what I use it specifically for is I ask like what kind of energies or presence is in my spiritual atmosphere for that specific day. And it is creepy accurate. I'll give you one example. I was watching some video on YouTube one day about the Joan of Arc, and I mean, it was about a lot of things, but one of the things was about the Joan of Arc, and it was kind of like a forecast type of video, someone talking about, okay, well, this is where we are right now at this point in time, and what this person was talking about, receiving information about the Joan of Arc being this huge presence in all of our lives at that specific point in time. So, I loved this video. I felt like that presence with me as well. And then, of course, later that day, I pulled the Joan of Arc from this deck. She's in here somewhere. And that was the first time I pulled the Joan of Arc. I don't usually pull her. There's like 3 people that I consistently pull out constantly. But she is not one of, I don't know, she's in here somewhere. Maybe we'll find her. But that's just one example. That's happened to me many times. And you've probably already seen this deck, but let's show you a couple of cards just in case you haven't. It's really beautiful. This is what the back looks like, by the way. It's amazing. And these specific cards are gilded, but a lot of them aren't. I think if you buy them from Hay House now, they aren't. So I don't know how you get gilded right now, but Mary Magdalene, Isis. I feel like, there's so many beings out there that, of course, it's not going to cover everyone, but I feel like it represents all the different flavors of energy, if that makes any sense. I feel like maybe everyone is not represented, but everything feels represented in this deck. And to me, that's what it does very well. This guy. There's so many interesting questions that you can ask this deck too. Sometimes I like to ask a really big question the first time that I get a deck. And I think the really big question for this, oh, here she is, Joan of Arc. I think my really big question for this deck was something to the effect of, which of these energies or presence is most important in my life or most present in my life? Who am I representing, or what is, what am I trying to learn here? Any of these things, because, everyone in the spiritual community is trying to, I think, find things that they identify with, and so that they can tell people oh, I'm of the blue ray people, or whatever, they're, oh, they like angels, they work with angels, or some people prefer to identify with ETs and etc. So, I asked this deck who was, or what was, the main presence in my life, and I got Jesus, which I'm fine with. I love Jesus. Jesus is great. I'm very not Christian or Catholic. So, and I kind of identify with the ET type of presence myself, at least on a conscious level. So I thought it was kind of interesting. Like, you have all kinds of people in here. You have like the divine director. You've got, such cosmic type of beings in this deck. And then I pulled Jesus. So I don't know. I thought that was funny. Of all the people. Like Mercury. Yeah. So I think you got the idea of that deck. On to the next one. So the next deck I'm going to show you is not something that I use every day. It's more like maybe every week or bi-week, but when I do use it, it feels a lot like medicine, and that's why I love it so much. And it is the Native Spirit Oracle card deck by Denise Linn. That's the guidebook. And that's also what the back looks like. My favorite part, I never really was too much into history. I understand the importance of history in understanding everything, but I personally did not like history growing up. I didn't like the kind of courses that I had to take. To me, it mostly just kind of felt like a bunch of white people doing stuff. Like, okay, what are the white people doing now? Conquesting land and imperialism, and then trying to figure out how to rule that land. Like, it's very empirical to me, history. So I didn't like the stories that I had to learn, even though they were so important. What I loved most was learning about the Native American cultures, which unfortunately I only learned about in like 4th grade, and then we never talked about it again. That's just kind of the nature of New York State public education. We learned about the natives and like on a very simplistic level, and then I can't remember ever talking about them from then on. So yeah, I never truly like history, but I always love that aspect of history. I love learning about how the natives used the land, how far they went back, their cultures, etc. And so I love, for obvious reasons, that's why I love this deck, the Native Spirit Oracle deck. The cultures of the Native people were dynamic, and it seems like each one has a little bit something else to offer. So I don't think you could make a deck that would represent everything. You're just you're gonna get a little taste of something. So that in mind, this is a perfect but yet imperfect deck because, for obvious reasons. But like I said, it feels like medicine to me. This deck, I think, for me, was the best thing that I could have in the wintertime because, when I was living in New York, and I'll probably be living in New York this winter too for, reasons that I can't go into this video. It's hard because you don't get outside and you don't really get to connect with anything in the natural world. You just kind of sit inside all day, and you know how it is if you have a winter. I don't have to tell you. And this deck helped me a lot. The imagery, the words associated with it can really put you in a great, amazing place, and you just put this on your altar wherever you can see it, and you make a point to pull from it often. Yeah, I usually use this in the winter opposed to the summer, just to get me through. Let's see here. Let me show you my favorites. I love the spirit of all the elements, like air and water and etc., earth. I like the trickster. Oh, here we go. Spirit of Water. Like, that just gets me through the winter. Like, that card right there, just put that somewhere. No, but the deck will give you whatever you need at that time. Whatever you need to know or, you know, incorporate into your life at that time. The White Buffalo. A very important legend for the native people. Spirit keepers of the South. Grandmother Earth. This is a very pretty card. Yeah. So, let's see here. Yeah, so you get the gist of it. I'm gonna try to not take too long on all the decks, so let's move on to the next one. Okay, so the most popular video on my channel is the Oracle card reading for beginners video. And the next deck I'm going to show you was in that video. So again, this is going to be a repeat, but it's in my top favorite 5 because I made such a strong foundational connection with this deck in the beginning of my journey. And it's everything about it. Like, I don't know what I talked about in the video about this deck, if at all, but it's everything about this deck I love. I love the texture of the box even. I love the texture of the cards. I love these like butterflies on top. I love, still smells like my essential oils, so that's a plus. It's just each card that you pull, you could journey into because they're so detailed. And it takes me to a different place. Like, I feel like this deck gives me a wisdom that I can't get to on my own, and that is exactly what I'm looking for in every single thing that I do. Whether it's crystals or a book, you know, nonfiction or fiction, or a video, a channel that I'm subscribing to, anything that I'm digesting mentally and emotionally, I'm looking for places that I can't get to on my own. And so that has shaped my favorites, my favorite anything. And that is what I'm bringing to you. And this did it for me. This does it for me. That being said, because this is a very serious deck to me, I don't use it every day. It's too intense. I'm not in the right frame of mind to be receiving the kind of wisdom that I want to be receiving from this deck every day. So I use it like once a month. And then this is an awesome deck to journal about because of the detail in every picture. And because the pictures are so detailed, the guidebook is very thin, very flimsy. Each message is just like, you know, a small paragraph. It's not much, which is fine. That's all it needs. And so it's a lot of inner work. Like, this is one of my inner work decks for that reason. And I'll show you a few images so that you can get a sense. The cards are very big. I love that too. But it's so like high energy too. Like, as you can see, the colors are so bright and everything about it is not serious. So it's kind of weird that I'm kind of taking this sort of angle with it. But I love that about this deck, that it's so high vibe yet so intensive. So I almost want to say like course intensive, like when you're studying essentially. But not like, oh, this card, like, look at it. I get this card a lot. Catch your breath. Stop. celebrate differences. I get this card a lot too. Telling me it's okay to be weird. Infinite blessings. This is weird that that was just the 3 cards in a row that I get constantly. Infinite blessings. I don't know how well you can see it, but I don't know if my camera will focus on it. Yeah, I don't know if my camera, it's too detailed and there's a lot going on in the picture, so I won't try. Adventure. This is like my favorite card, or one of my favorite cards. Perfect setting. That's how I want to feel when I write my book. So yeah. Oh, this is also cool. Hold on, let me show you. It's hard to stop showing you guys these cards, but I know this video will be very long if I don't. Okay, on to the next one. So, this is one of the first decks that I ever received, and it is an Elana Fairchild deck, which, if you know anything about her, her decks are always so well written. I don't know who illustrated this one. I'm going to see, artwork by Autumn Sky Morrison. So that's the artist of this deck, but whenever you get an Elana Fairchild deck, the guidebooks are phenomenal. They're very long-winded, but they cover everything and they give you an angle, like I was talking about before, that you couldn't really get to on your own. It's a channeling. She channels each image, like she's a very good channeler. And so this deck has given me its own kind of wisdom because of that. So this is what the back of these cards look like. It's got like an ancestral line kind of feel to it, to me, at least that's my interpretation. Diving for light. Trust yourself. See, that's the thing, like, the keywords for the cards on a lot of Elana Fairchild's decks are not as direct and obvious as some decks are, if that makes any sense. I'll give you an example, like, in the Untamed Truth deck, there's like a log cabin in the woods somewhere and it's wintertime, and like the keyword for that is security, and it's like, okay, yeah, I can see that feels like security, but like these images are kind of abstract, and so for this one example, she feels, she knows. Like you do work with trying to put the keywords and the image together. Like you have to do a little mini journey and try to get into this wavelength, this perspective that Elana Fairchild is conveying on a very deep level with the imagery and with the message. And so, like that other deck that I was talking about, I don't use this as often because it's so intense. Like, I couldn't use this every day because it's not a shallow deck. It's not, I mean, shallow is like a negative word that I probably shouldn't use, but what I'm just trying to convey, like, it's not a check-in everyday type deck. It's like you're gonna probably want to take your journal out, you're gonna want to meditate on what you're getting, because the thing that you're meant to receive is just going to take time. Like, there's no other way to do it with a deck like this. inspiration. And the message of this whole deck is beautiful. You know, it's called Sacred Rebels. You know, it's for us. This deck is for us. It's for the people who don't feel they belong anywhere and have the hardest time identifying with our culture and with, you know, your everyday average human, and then having the kind of insights that we have and the kind of gifts that we have, and going through everyday life with this kind of baggage. And so it's this deck is for every light worker, honestly, out there. And I think it's her best deck. At least all the ones that I've seen, I love this deck the most. I probably haven't seen every single one of her works, but I've seen a lot, and this is my favorite. Faith in the process. Release the dark wound, let love in. Man, it just hits you. It's just, they're so powerful. The perfection of your life. I wasn't sure if I was gonna pull a card for you guys in this video, but I think I am with this deck, because I think that every single person watching this video could gain something from this deck. So let's go ahead and do that, and I'm going to read from the guidebook so that you get a sense of Elana Fairchild's writing. So, okay, let's get ready here. Let me just kind of clear it because it's got a lot of my energy in it. So let's see what message is in store for you guys today. I hope you're all having a lovely summer. The world is crazy right now, so please take time for yourself. Like, really put those self-care things into high gear and don't feel guilty about it, because everything is kind of crazy right now, whether it be, you know, what you hear in the news or, you know, your daily lives, your personal lives. Take care of yourself. Okay, so 2 cards came out for you guys. Collaborative Dreaming and Sacred Fool. We're much more powerful when we're collaborating, so that's why these communities on YouTube are so important, is because trying to be a sacred rebel all alone is impossible. It's, you know, we're much more powerful when we come together, and it's so hard to go through life alone like this. So that's kind of my mini interpretation of this card. So let's read what Elana Fairchild has to say about that. Let's start with the Sacred Fool. Let's start with the Sacred Fool card. Okay, this is a lot of text, so bear with me. The Fool is a great rebel, able to thwart convention and tell the truth without restraint. Your heart is a wonderful, powerful, sacred fool. It cares not for the right way to do things. It cares not for what the mind says is real and not real. It lives according to an inner wisdom that cannot be dictated to or controlled by anything. It loves, it lives, and it is what it is. This oracle heralds a time, now or imminent, when you will feel inspired, alive, and passionate for what you can offer to the world. It says to you, don't try to be appropriate, don't try to be socially acceptable and worry about what others think about what you are doing, just be. If you want to wear a mad hat whilst doing so, fine. The sacred fool in you is willing to leave behind what has been because it no longer feels right to stay attached to it. The sacred fool in you trusts life completely. It would never occur to this part of you to try and outsmart life or resist its flow. It recognizes that the mind is a monkey puppet on strings. More often than not, it is cajoled into fear, when it could be playfully dwelling in the radical spontaneity of life. So the sacred fool in you urges your mind to let itself be pulled into joy by your heartstrings, not into fear and doubt by the controlling machines of mass media. This oracle brings you a message. It's time for you to play. So maybe that's the form of self-care you guys need now. Play. It's summertime, so have at it. It's time for you to let life happen in a completely unreserved, unscripted way. The more bizarre, left of field, unexpected, and apparently ridiculous, the better. This might not feel safe or appropriate at first, and that is okay. That is good, actually. It is a sign that you are breaking with your own self-imposed conventions. It is time to move beyond them now because a bigger life adventure is calling to you. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit. As you take this journey, you may find that people around you are challenged. You might unintentionally cause them to rethink the way they live their lives. They may question whether the way they are living is the only way for them or even the best way. At first, they may react rather than take responsibility. The sacred fool in you doesn't engage with this. It is what it is, and it rises and falls as it will. It doesn't stop you from merry dance of unconventional being. And I hope you can hear me over the boat. And it goes on. It goes on. There's more paragraphs. But it also has a healing process after those paragraphs. And now let's go to collaborative dreaming. Your heart is big enough to dream not only for yourself, but for a new humanity. Imagine a world that is healed with respect, understanding, and with community that fosters life. Even your dreams that relate to you alone will contribute positively to the greater good because that is the nature of your heart. Your heart naturally and intelligently cooperates in a grand scheme of loving creativity, working to heal the hearts of the world. The heart creates win-win situations that benefit the individual and the collective. You are being asked to honor your growing desire to co-create with conscious, like-minded people. Your collaborative dreaming is a heart-inspired win-win. Bring mutual enhancement to your life and others. Bringing mutual enhancement to yourself and others. The heart wants to love and be loved. Working with others creatively is a way to allow the heart to grow. It is a chance for you to learn how to honor yourself and others and to find ways to live and let live, simply by growing and strengthening your active trust in your heart's guidance. You are asked to bear the rough patches that can happen when you work creatively with others. Ideas may clash and there can be friction, particularly if you have different ways of working. Sometimes big dreams need more fire to ignite them into reality, where fire might require more friction along the creative path. It is not meant to be a permanent condition, just an aspect of the creative process from which you can learn something useful if you wish. Your guidance is to embrace any experiences of friction or tension within yourself or as you work with another with compassion, detachment, and tolerance. And I'll skip ahead a little bit to save time. This oracle is guiding you to stay in your integrity, honor what you feel, and remember why you chose to open up to group endeavors in the first place, especially if the group involvement becomes complex or challenging. Call on unconditional love each day and evening. It only takes a moment to do. And then in quotes it says, I call on unconditional love. Please help and guide me in this project. So you guys can see what I'm saying about her writing. It's like your own personal, in-depth reading. It's like some people pay $15 for a reading like this. So you get what you pay for in this deck, but most importantly, it's really geared toward all the light workers in the world, and we thank you, Elana Fairchild, for making this deck. It's helping a lot of people. So that's my 5 decks, and thank you all so much for watching. Let me know what you thought about this video in the comments, and please subscribe. I talk about a lot of different kinds of things, not just decks, although deck, that's one of my favorites. I love making videos on numerology. I love just talking to you guys about stuff. I love making discussion videos, so if you have a channel and you like to collaborate, that's what we were just talking about. I love being able to have the freedom to do what I want to do on this platform, but at the same time, I feel like a lot more comes out when 2 people or 3 people or however many people come together to work on something and represent themselves and offer something to show the rest of the world. So if you'd be interested in that, let me know. And I hope you all are having a lovely week. And until next time, guys, take care.